Previously we looked at the grouped distribution. In this case, the data is continuous, so you have a continuous variable. In this case, the heights of 100 models in centimeter. All right. What we did was group the distribution from 150 to 154, 55 to 59, 160 to 164, 165 to 169, 170 to 174. Now that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. You remember when we used a chart to represent information earlier? That was one of the charts we used was the bar chart. We also used the pie chart as well, but concentrate on the bar chart. There is a way to represent this information as well. It is called a histogram. Alright? On the histogram, it looks like the bar chart, but the bars must touch. We can't separate them. And the reason is because this could have included values as high as 154.5. Well, let's just under 154.5. That's the first class up here. Right, this one. Then the second one would include values of 154.5 going up. So where this class ends is where this one begins. And the fact that the bars touch will show that. Alright? Now, we can use a graph paper to represent the information here. We call it a histogram. You see here that we start at 150 and we end at 174. It would make sense to start all the way from 0 to 150. What I mean is this. First of all, you place these values on the x-axis, the horizontal axis of the graph, and the frequency on the y-axis. Alright? Now, this is a graph paper so far. We're looking at this graph paper. Now, the thing is, we're going as high as 43 centimeter and as low as 4. So this goes up to 43, 45 or 50. Be close enough, and it's a neat number. Now, we want to cover at least more than half, but as much of the graph paper as we can. So we want to select a certain scale. So going, say 45, or if it doesn't work, going up to 50. On the horizontal axis, we start at 0. You label this as heights in centimeters. Alright? Let me just label it. Heights in centimeters. And then, no, frequency, it's frequency, not height in centimeters. This is the frequency we're looking at. So, I'm going to label the horizontal axis as frequency. Frequency, F-R-E-Q-U-C-Y. Alright, frequency. It means how frequent. And then the horizontal axis, we label it as height in centimeters. Heights in centimeters, right down here. Now, the frequency is at 0. Let's see how many centimeters we have going up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 centimeters. Now, if we go from 1 to 50, if we put 50 at the top, divided by 25. Remember, it's 50 centimeters up at the top, and there are 25 of them. So 50 divided by 25 would be 2. Now let's see. If we do this from 1 to 50, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26. What we will be doing is using 1 centimeter as 2 units. Because if we do that, we'd say 2, 4, 6, you get the idea. Let me skip out some of it. 8, 10. Remember, on your real graph paper, you would have more space that I'm working with, so don't skip them. 12, 14, 16, 14, 16, 18, here, 20, this would be 22, 24, this would be 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50. Okay. Now, along here would be, on the horizontal axis, would be our values in centimeters. If you should choose a constant scale for this, what would happen here? You're going from 170 to 175. 170 to 175. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. You have 18 centimeters across. Right? Now, if you go, say, 175, call it 180. That's close enough. We can use 180. And this is 180. 180 over 18 would be 10. You will have the 180 divided into 18 parts. So you'll have 10. 10, 20, 30, 40. This would be 10, 20, 30, 40. You get the idea. 50, 60, 70, this would be 80, 90, 100, and so on and so forth. Alright, so you have 110, this would be 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, I'm just skipping due to space, 170, 180. But you wouldn't want to be skipping them. Your real graph paper would be wide enough to hold all the numbers. Now, you're going from 150 to 154 up to 8. Now, the thing is, what you will run into, the problem you would run into, is that you're starting at 175. Now, if you do that, all the graph would be taken up by only this tiny little portion of the graph paper, and you don't want to do that. All right? Now, in order to correct that problem, what you do is this. You draw a little line and make it zigzag. Make it a zigzag line. Once you have that zigzag line, I'm doubling my line now. Once you have that zigzag line, that line is saying that you are missing out some information. Then you can start here. Now, you're starting at 150. It's 150 that you're starting, not 175. A while ago I forgot that it was 150. Let's go back to it. If you were doing this, you would start at 150. You start your graph all the way out here, and the graph paper would only take up this section here, and you would miss out most of the graph paper. All of that would be, the space would be wasted. So it would make sense, right? So let's go back to our correction that we're supposed to make. What you do, you draw a little line, you make a bit of a zigzag. That's one way to show you're skipping something. And you start somewhere here, alright? Somewhere about there. And you say this is your 150 centimeters. That's 150 centimeters. Now, from 150 to 175, what would be a good scale to use? If you say 150, 55, 60, 65, 1 centimeter or 5 units, that wouldn't work, right? Earlier I divided the value by the number of centimeters, but let's do it in a different way now. Suppose we had 1 centimeter equal 2 units. What would happen? 50, 52, 54, 56, 58, 60, 62, 64, 66, 68, 70, 72, 74. Yeah, that would work. That would be a good scale. On the x-axis, 1 centimeter equal 2 units. So, if you had used 1 centimeter per 1 unit, you would have to say 150, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66. And 175 would be all the way out here, well off the graph paper. So you'd have to use 1 centimeter equal 2 units. So let's use 1 centimeter equal 2 units. That's 150, 152, 154. Let me write my 154 here. Then I have 156, 158, 60, 62, 60 would be here, 52 would be here. I don't have a space to write all the numbers. 62, 64, 68, 70. Let me put 70. 72, 74, 76. All right, this here is 76. Okay, so now looking back at the table, the 150 to 154 goes up to 8, a frequency of 8. The 150 to 154. Now, you wouldn't start exactly at 150, you start just to the left of 150. We're going to see why in a while. And it goes up to 8. This is 6, this is 8. And you start going across with your line. Here, it goes to 154. So, 154 is this. You start your line just to the right of 154, and that is our first bar. Now 155 to 159. 155 to 159 goes up to 16. So where you ended a while ago, you start with the next bar and you go up to 16 right here to 159. This is 159. You start just to the right of 159 and go up. That is your other bar. Then you have 160 to 164. 43. 160 to 164. 43. This is 42, 43. This height to 164. This is 62. This is 64. You start, draw the line just to the right of 164 and go across. Then you have 165 to 169. 165. Remember, this here was 164. Let me just make a note of it. We don't have a space, but let me draw it. This was 64. 164. Alright, let me put the ones there. Right. We have enough space to put those. This was, well, let me just label it. We don't have a space. But this was 164. Right here is 164. We don't have a space to write it, but you get the idea. And you started just to the right of 164. And this is 165 to 169, 29. So 165, you don't start exactly at 165. you start just to the left of 165. So remember, you ended the previous bar to the right of 164. And you start the next bar to the left of 165. So it's the same line. And it goes up to 29. 29, just a little below 30. That looks too close. Just a little bit. Let me put it clearly under 30. To 169. Is that so? To 169. This is at 170. You're going to end just to the right of 169. All right. Now, 170 to 174. 170 to 174. And it goes up to 4. So at a height of 4. Oh no. Yes, at a height of 4. 170 to 174. You go across. Just to the right of 174, then you draw it down. And this would be your histogram. Alright? Your histogram. You can also draw what is called a frequency polygon, but before I do that, let me just make a note here that the scale x axis is 1 cm equal 2 unit. 1 cm equals 2 units. Let me stretch this out a bit. Scale colon x-axis 1 cm equal 2 units, and then the y-axis, let me just copy and paste this, make it a bit easier for me. For the y-axis now, we're having 1 cm equal 2 units. Yeah, it's the same. 1 cm equal 2 units. And we can label the graph, the entire graph, as graph of heights of 100 models. I just made up that description of the graph, or it could be a title of the graph, whatever the case is. Alright, let us draw what is called our frequency polygon. Frequency P-O-L-Y-G-O-N, polygon, frequency polygon. I want this to be that color. It's not in that color. All right. Good. Now, what happened is that you form the frequency polygon by joining the middle of the tips of these bars. So this one, this bar, the middle of this, middle of this, middle of this, middle of this. Then you close the polygon. Imagine that you are going down to 0 and the width between this and where you're going to end up at 0 is the same as this width. The widths of the areas where you drew the. I notice something here. Why is it that this bar seems to be so wide? The second bar. Let me see something here. 155 to 159. 155. Oh, it should have ended here, you know. This bar should be this wide. That's what should have happened. Right? I just realized it. And then all of this would be shifted to the left. Alright? Let me just correct that. Everything here shifted to the left. So 155 to 159. 155 to 159, just to the right of 158. 160 to 164. So 160 about here to 164. Okay. Just want to make sure that the bars are of equal width. Okay. I've just had that off a bit. Now, I have to be very careful when drawing these things so that you don't make a mistake. So 1, 2, 3. The third bar ends at 164. Right. Then 165 to 169. 165 to 168, 69. Close to 170. And then 170 to 174. From 170 to 174. Alright, good. Just corrected that. Now, you should have the bars of equal width, and be careful that you draw the bars over the number that you should really draw them. Now, the thing is, you close the polygon by going right down to 0 so that you cover between 0. The thing is, just below here, this distance must be equal to, just below here, must be equal to this distance, and it just below here must also be equal to this distance. So if you line up just below the middle of the bars, going left and right should be the same distances. All right. Now over to the right, you close the polygon on this side by doing the same thing. So what you have is your frequency polygon. Now of course it wouldn't be a polygon unless you close it at the bottom. So you close the polygon now. Nice. Alright, now we'll just end this video at this point, and we will continue looking at the graph, but we will examine the reason why, for example, you did not start to draw your line exactly above 150. You draw it to the left of 150 and you ended to the right of 154. Then the next one you will draw it to the left of 155 and end to the right of 159, and so on and so forth. So we'll look at that in a later video. So I will see you then.